Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's weekly options trade watch list. Before actually getting into the plays that I'm looking at for the upcoming week, I want to do a overall market breakdown of the different indices, kind of see where we are at as of now coming into this new week. So let's get right into it. We'll look here first off at the ES futures. We can see that we are still in a nice uptrend, and if we come here to look more at how price action is performing, we did break out of this previous resistance here, getting new all-time highs, had this new consolidation phase, and now we are falling back down below the 21 EMA, but we are still holding that 50 simple moving average. So as of now, with different things setting up here on the ES with price below 21, but still stacked EMAs, I'm kind of neither bullish nor bearish at the moment here. Nothing is really leading me to believe that this market is just going to fall, but nothing's also telling me that it's going to keep just sending to the upside. I think that we could start to see ourselves kind of falling into more of a range market here, just kind of what I am seeing, but doesn't mean it has to happen. But that is what I am kind of looking for here on the ES itself, is more chop than actual trending markets. So ideally, if I want to see this market continue to that upside, I need to see some closes above the 21 EMA, or if we want to see to the downside, I want to see some further breaks of this 50 simple moving average here on the daily time frame. One thing that is leading me to believe that we are still bullish here is this weekly time frame. We're in a low compression squeeze here still, and we're still holding well above this 21 EMA. I usually don't get very bearish on a market unless it is trading below its weekly 21. So until that, I'm still going to remain relatively bullish on the overall market as a whole, but I do still think we could see some chop. Alright, so that's the ES. We'll move on here to the Qs. And Qs have been hit a little harder. Actually, if we zoom out, we can see. There we are. We can see previous levels of resistance, which then turn into support. So those previous highs back here led us to a resistance line. We broke through it, made new all-time highs, found a resistance here, hit it once again, and then we also found support based off that previous resistance. We did get a close below that support line here on Friday, so you could potentially see some more selling here, or it could still potentially bounce from that back up to this upper range here due to this just being a choppy market here on the Qs. We do have a low compression squeeze with that histogram still above the 0, but we do not have stacked EMAs, and we're in a deceleration stage, which is definitely more bearish than bullish. But just like the ES, if we come here to the weekly time frame, we did have a small close below that 21 EMA, but next week we could see it bounce off of those levels as it has here previously many times. If we start next week getting another close below the 21, then I would be much more bearish on the Qs and large cap tech as a whole. So definitely keep your eye on that weekly time frame for NQ. Moving on now to YM, or the Dow. This one is definitely holding up the best compared to any other indice. Had this great push up here to new all-time highs and are just reverting back down here to the 21 EMA. So everything about the Dow is still very bullish in my opinion, and you even got the bounce off that 21 EMA to close a little bit higher here on that Friday close. We have nicely stacked EMAs and an acceleration stage. No daily squeeze firing or anything like that, but the structure alone is telling me that the Dow is bullish. Now if we come here to the weekly time frame, this is where I do like it. This squeeze on the weekly time frame is looking to fire to the upside. So for instance, if the tech starts to fall a little bit, the Dow could be what keeps this market afloat and pushing potentially to that upside if we can get some strong strength here with this weekly squeeze firing on the Dow. Overall, it does look like it will fire to that upside with our bullish momentum in the histogram above 0, price trading above the 21 and actually the 8 EMA, and we have our stacked EMAs and are in an acceleration stage. So I do like the Dow to the upside very much for the next few weeks. Alright, then last but not least here on the list, we do have the Russell. And the Russell is basically doing the exact same thing it's been doing for the last what year was this? 2021. So basically for a year now, the small caps have been doing a whole lot of the same. Got this fake breakout here, and then came right back down into this rangy chop. So you have your resistance up here, you have your support down here, and once again it has held it perfectly here. And I think that we just keep continuing to do that. So if you get down price down to this lower support region, that would be a great place to buy. And if you hit this upper resistance, that might be a great place to sell due to the structure being very choppy. Now if we come here to the weekly time frame, this is telling me a little bit different of a story. This weekly squeeze is looking to fire to that downside, with price falling below the 21, reverting back up to it, and now once again rejecting it here. So if we do get a break of this previous supports, we could see a lot of selling here in the small caps in the upcoming weeks or months. But ideally, I would like to see some closes above the 21. This histogram start to push back up towards that zero line, and ideally give us a continuation to the upside in the small caps. Yes, that does not have to happen. We could easily see more selling here with this squeeze firing to the downside, but those are the two potential options that could happen. Alright, so that's the overview of the market itself. Now let's go into the plays that I'm looking at, and the first one here is going to be Airbnb. If it lets me click it, there we go. And this one is to the downside. So you get this strong push here, you get the fall back below the 21, fell to the -2 ATR, reverted back up to the mean, get the exact same fall back down to the -2 ATR, reverted back up to the mean, and I think the exact same thing is going to happen here with the accompaniment of this squeeze firing to the downside. So after that reversion, you consolidate, get a small flush, and then get a quick reversion to the 8 EMA. But I do think that with this structure, I think we still get another push back down to at least this -2 ATR as it has. The next one on the list here is Dollar Tree to the upside. We can see we had this nice strong push here, which then has come into a nice consolidation, which is where our squeeze has now formed. Our histogram is above that zero line with great bullish momentum, looking to push it to that upside. We have our stacked DMAs, and we're in an acceleration stage. It is at a good buy point right now at that 8 EMA and should start pushing back up to this +2 or even +3 ATR. So ideally, I would get it down here at this 21, but the 8 EMA is also a good place to get a buy on that one. Next one here to the downside is Facebook or Meta. We are closing below this 21 EMA and we're closing below the 50. We have no stacked EMAs, and this daily squeeze is looking to fall below this zero line. Ideally would like to see that fall and price hold below this 21 EMA for a nice fall, hopefully down to this -2 or even -3 ATR, which should give it a pretty strong move here to the downside. Next one I'm looking at here is GameStop. So if you look at GameStop, in a nice downtrend, we have negatively stacked EMAs in a deceleration stage, and price cannot reclaim this 21 EMA. Got rejected here, and then fell way below it here, all the way down to the 8 EMA. The squeeze histogram is below the 0, so if we do get another reversion back up to that 21 EMA, definitely that would be a great place to look short on GameStop to that downside. And then last but not least here is NUE. I like this one a lot to the upside here. We do have our stacked EMAs and we're in acceleration. You get this large pop-up here past that +2 ATR, and now we're just getting this reversion back down to the 21 EMA before I think it makes another move to that upside, just due to the fact that if we look at its weekly squeeze, it is looking to fire to that upside with great bullish momentum and that histogram well above the zero line, and price has been holding the 8 EMA here for a while, which is nice to see. So I do think we can see a continuation here with NUE in the next few weeks to that upside. So this is the watch list for the week. Hopefully it gives you all a few other stocks to add to your watch list and a few other things that you could be looking at. Go out there and make Monday a great trading day.